Good evening. We are back here. This is Talish now with Lead with Giants Community TV, and this is segment 3. We finished segment 2, still talking about leadership and career change, as well as finding mentors outside of our industries, and some other topics there. What do successful people do? How do they continue through those challenging times? This segment, we're going to talk about speaking and communication, and Steve Broe is no stranger to that. He has won several awards of public speaking, and he is a Toastmaster International Leadership Excellence, has been a speaker, and has numerous awards. So I'm actually honored to have you, Steve, in talking about that specific topic. We had Ryan Avery not too long ago as well with the Toastmaster, so it's nice to have another Toastmaster person with us. So, but briefly, quickly, do a 20-second introduction. Where are you from, please? Go ahead, Steve.
Hello everyone, I'm Steve Broe. I'm an executive coach and author from Scottsdale, Arizona.
And Steve, if you'd like to mention your website as well.
Sure, I'd love to have friends visit my website. It's www.mycareerimpact.com.
Great. All right. Next, we've got Nathan with us. He's here, and he's kind of in a listening mode. But as sure as he will ask the questions, we'll be sure to share with the audience as well. And I'll go over to the next person is Liz Stinselli.
Hi, I'm Liz with Stinselli Advisors, and I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Great. And the next person we've got is Dan. If you want to unmute your mic there.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So I'm Dan Forbes, hanging from Sarasota, Florida, founder of the Lead with Giants community, which you can find out more about at LeadWithGiants.com. And good to see fellow Giants in the room tonight. Thank you, Tal, for having me.
Great to have you. And last but not least, the passion curator, Andy Lyons.
Hey, Giants. Mwah. Always glad to be here sharing the love with everybody. As you know, I'm the Chief Passion Curator for BringBackDesire.com and the host of the Loving and Lasting Show, and hailing from what we're fondly calling it this week, Boston Strong.
All right. Great. I love that. So Steve, let's talk about speaking and communication. You've done a lot of work with that area, and I know that's an area that you're working with leaders as well. And I think for most leaders right now, they're trying to. There's a lot of material about speaking and communication, but what would be kind of your maybe 3 things that you would recommend to someone in a company to deliver? Whether it's a presentation or what I'm finding out, just speaking from personal experience, is that we're very focused on the bottom line, but we don't engage enough to win the hearts and minds of our employees enough. What can we do, especially with as much we've got social media and everything, the attention span is very short sometimes. What can we do to overcome that and really connect?
You've handed me a big challenge there, Tal. Thank you. First of all, I will say I think Toastmasters has been a transformational experience for me. I've been in the organization now 24 years, and we talked about experts earlier. I can honestly say I've become an expert in helping people to become better public speakers through the Toastmasters experience. I've started club that now has been going on for 19 years. I was there at its beginning and helped to make it happen. I've helped a lot of people build their careers through public speaking. Public speaking is really closely linked to leadership. The ability to express oneself, to share values, is a powerful tool for any person who wants to influence other people. Now, you asked about someone in an organization wanting to convey a stronger message. First of all, I created a message for project managers on how they can make a difference in speaking to senior management. If someone wants to visit my YouTube channel, it's Dr. Steve Broe, and I have a message there. I think it's on my LinkedIn page as well, on how project managers can speak to senior managers. The key issue, I think, is first of all is understand that focus on the needs of the audience rather than focus on how do I talk this message through. People want to be treated as a real person, not as someone they're leading a PowerPoint presentation to. People want to know that you care about the message. Stories are a very powerful way of connecting people to the purpose. So if you can begin with a story that's relevant, and if you're speaking in perhaps a chill corporate environment, you don't want to have a lushy, emotional story, but one that really illustrates the key principles of why you should be doing what you're doing. Don't bore people with too many details when you're speaking, but provide a channel for people to get the details with a written copy or a supplement that they can download from by email or an attachment or another means, and then hit them hard on why they need to take an action by the close of their message.
Those are great suggestions, because I think that's, and the word I was looking for is really communicating to make an impact in your organization, in your teams, in I think that's the biggest challenge right now for many leaders, as I see in my industry, is to make an impact, because now we've got all generations now at work. And so how do you communicate? I guess that's my next question, is how do you communicate across diversity, cultural diversity, age diversity? How do you communicate? And I know it's a huge question there, but what have you experienced successfully, or some best practices with that?
What I've found is that there is a surface level of diversity and there is a deep level of diversity. At the surface level, we have people with different cultural experiences. In another culture, if you point your finger at them, they may take offense. And I'm not talking about giving the finger. I'm just pointing a finger. People will take offense at that. There are certain forms of humor which we take for granted in United States. In another culture, they may think you're being obnoxious if you employ this kind of humor. That's a very surface level of diversity, because I think at the deepest level, people want to have a meaningful experience. They want to listen to their leaders, and they want to know that what they're doing is important, and they have a role to play in that. And that's the key message that leaders ought to be focusing on. How do you bring people together? When I hear someone who's passionate about their message, I don't pay attention to their accent. I don't pay attention to when they stumble over words. A lot of Toastmasters focus on or or filler words like man, and I think that's so unimportant. The key issue is the message meaningful for us? Is there a message here that tells me how to lead a better life? I think that's what people are looking for.
That's great, because it goes along with the stories, and you can connect through stories. And what I love about the TED conference, the TED speaking stuff, is that it is short, but it's not a bullet point type of situation. It is a actual story, movable story, and people come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and you learn. And like you said, somebody may have an accent, but they're sharing a story from their childhood and how they went through transformational leadership. So
Yes.
I think it's so important to get connected with the message and really the person. You don't buy into the vision without buying into the person. So that's key. Let me go over to Andy there. She's got a question or feedback for us.
Well, I think it's very interesting that you chose Toastmasters over, other speaking places. How did you refine your message? How did you learn to be passionate about your message? And do you actually earn money speaking?
I'm not earning a lot of money speaking right now, but I am very passionate about my message.
Put him on the spot, Andy. Put him on the
Yeah.
spot.
Well, Dan was going to send the check in the mail just like he did with me.
Right.
You know what, Andy? I'll tell you this. The message that I have is so important to me that I need to continue sharing it with people, even though I don't get paid. I'm flying to Las Vegas next week at my own expense to bring this message, because I think this message on how to change careers, how to go through upheaval, and how to define yourself as a leader is something that a lot of people are going to want to hear.
Yeah, what was your adjusted gross income last year? That's Andy's next question.
I think we're past the tax date, which was
Come on, I know there are people watching this and wondering, oh, that's nice, he's making speeches, but does he make money at it? It was just I think it's an important question because
Yeah.
you can monetize your passion. And I think that, too, is a very important message. I get that you can get on a plane and finance your trip to Las Vegas and share your message. That's wonderful. But there are entrepreneurs who are transitioning, who have a passionate message and a very important story to tell, but they also do want to, earn. And I just thought I'd ask that for the viewers.
Well,
So,
the nice thing about the internet today is that we can get our message out there to more people than ever, to people who want to hear what our targeted message is faster and more economically than ever before.
Nathan Whittington in the chat says, if it's your passion, you'll do it for free. And so buying your own plane ticket, illustrates that. Of course, we all need to eat, so we do need to make an income. And the key, and I think this is sort of part of what your book is, combining your passion, what you love doing, in your chosen career.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
I just want to add a comment to that. I was watching Guy Kawasaki recently, and one of the things he's recommending for innovation, number one thing is not money, but meaning. If you create a meaning or you're here to serve somebody, one of the purpose or finding your purposes really should start, because I see a lot of coaches actually in the Dallas area through different mastermind groups, and their focus, if you look at their agenda of training and going through that mastermind group, probably 90% of it is selling, but they're missing the boat. The boat there is how do you add value to people's lives? How do you what Steve does? How do you serve people? How do you add value to what they do through whether it's career change or communication, speaking? So I think it will come for Steve as well, because I know you can tell, Steve, you're very passionate about speaking. It comes from your heart, so I can tell.
Thanks.
I think it's important to bridge that, though, bridge money and meaning.
Mm-hmm.
I really do, because when you're in the trenches as entrepreneurs, it's wonderful. On the internet, you can give away everything for free. So I love the idea of bridging that incredible meaning, like you're showing us tonight with your passion and meaning, Steve, and also helping your family eat.
Yeah. Well, we're all eating well right now, but I know the message I have is important, and I'm helping my audience find me.
Great.
And so I imagine that gets you over the jitters. I mean, how do you coach people to become a speaker? Do you send them into the Toastmaster platform, or do you, in your coaching, provide them with some skills that they can use to get their message?
I have one coaching client who wanted to improve his public speaking. He was reluctant at first, and he's joined a Toastmasters club. I've talked to him about his Toastmasters experience. I do that pretty much every week with him, but Toastmasters is a great platform for expanding the opportunities. It's a safe place to fail. It's a safe place to try out new behaviors. And see, I know I'm getting away from your question, but I know no better platform to help people build their public speaking experience than a local Toastmasters club.
Great. So, Steve, talk to us a little bit about, do you have a direction to actually maybe write a book about speaking and leadership? Because you do combine a really wonderful aspect of leadership and communication. Is that kind of in the works maybe someday?
Gosh, I haven't been thinking about that. I've got several projects in mind, but a book about public speaking, that's not one I've been thinking about.
Okay, all right. Liz, you've got a question or comment for Steve?
Just quickly, I was a Toastmaster for a while, and it provided a great deal of benefit. It is a slow process, though. I didn't have the patience to bear with it long enough. I should have stuck with it longer. But a quick question, and I'm going to use Andy as an example here. She has such a great glowing personality. It's fabulous. Look at her smile. It's beautiful to look at. Do you ever adjust your personality based on your audience?
No. if the audience doesn't want who I am, they probably want another speaker, and I ought to find another audience.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right.
Great question, though, Liz. Really great question.
Yes. Steve, what are some of the things that can prepare somebody? I know part of the nervous that we go through, or being nervous, because as you know, public speaking is probably one of the top fears in the world, right?
It is, yes.
And what can someone do, and I want to learn about it just as much as the next person, is how can we prepare in a constructive way to when we're giving speech? And I know that maybe possibly depending on where you are, it's going to be a little different. But do you have any suggestions for just a beginner that can, okay, this is something that maybe practice, or what do your recommendations are?
Okay, I've got such an important question. I want to start with a story to that. I was in a Toastmasters club several years ago. A young lady who was in the insurance industry wanted to build her career as an agent in helping people with their insurance needs. She had prepared a speech for the club, and it was failing for her. It was coming apart. And mid-speech, she said, "I can't go on." And she put down her speech and started to walk off. I was in charge of running that meeting, and I stopped and asked her, would it help you finish the speech if you just read it to us? Didn't try to give it as a prepared speech. And as soon as I asked that, the whole audience said, yeah, come on, give your speech. Read your speech if that's... And the whole audience just erupted with support for this young lady. She got up there and read her speech and finished it. And it was a pivotal moment for her, because she said she felt the support of this club to make a breakthrough for her. She later became president of that club and built her career in selling insurance in a way that she hadn't anticipated 6 months earlier. The hard thing about public speaking is getting up and doing it. And there's really a way to avoid doing that. And it's not such a bad experience, but everyone's got their own viewpoint on what the public speaking experience is. For people who've been speaking for a while, they know how to give a speech, but they want to get better, I tell them, move away from thinking about yourself. Think about the audience. How can you help the audience get the message? Take the focus off of how do I look good. Put the focus on how do I help the audience understand what I have to share. And as soon as you make that shift, it changes the perspective entirely of fear, because what you understand that you're doing is you're acting in service for the audience. And realizing that for me was a breakthrough moment.
That's great, and one of the things that I can relate to what you're saying is I've seen John Maxwell, kind of going back to that 10,000 hours, and someone always asking him, saying, you're such a natural speaker, you were born with it. And he tells a story that it's definitely not true, and if you actually listen to him throughout the years, he has only improved and only improved. But it's that 10,000 hours of practice and making mistakes. One of the things that I think Ryan had shared with us as well is just having the mindset of knowing you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. That's part of the practice of becoming a better speaker. I know that about a year and a half ago I became a trainer, and majority of it was really speaking, but you're learning what works, what doesn't work, how do you connect with the audience better, what doesn't connect with the audience. You're starting to pay attention to your body language as well. So I think it's I know it's a cliche, but it is practice, 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 and you're going to make mistakes whether you're John Maxwell or somebody else for that matter. So I think it goes back to just having the ability and the courage to make mistakes as well.
A great point, Tal. Practice. I think one of the biggest errors that people make in public speaking is that they don't practice. And it's so obvious when someone gets up and they don't really know their material, they don't have the material down cold, and it's so very, very distracting. And in the comments, I had mentioned for someone that wants to become a better speaker, videotape yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can do that. You can have a Google Hangout with yourself.
Oh, wow.
And do your speech that way. I had mentioned, I think it was off the air, my first career, I was a minister for 20 years. And when I was young in the ministry, on Saturday, I would go into the church, stand in the pulpit, and I would preach my sermon to an empty church in order to practice the message. And I would do that multiple times if necessary, so that when I got up in front of people, I could really concentrate on connecting with them, because I had the message and it was from my heart. But I had practiced and I had rehearsed so that the stories I told or whatever I was trying to communicate was something that I had already heard it coming back into my ears. It was really familiar to me. That was very helpful.
Dan, there is something about going to the physical place where you're going to speak and doing your thing in that space. I know I was invited in November to speak at a business setting. I visited the hotel 2 days before my event, asked the hotel manager to open up the room so I could see what my physical environment was going to look like, so I can help me visualize the experience before I walked in.
Exactly. And if you can get up on the stage, stand behind, if you're going to have a podium, stand behind the podium or stand on the stage. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Steve, I will let you into our ballroom in the hotel as early as you need to, okay?
Outstanding.
Great, great.
I love that advice, though. Act in service of your audience. Focus on the audience's needs. That's so wonderful, Steve, and so much better than picturing the audience naked.
That's pretty obnoxious, too.
I thought that too, Andy. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, I think we're pretty. Does anybody else has any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Steve.
No?
Thanks, Dan. It was good to share this time with all of you.
Great, and just so everybody knows, LeadWithGiants.com is our website, and you can find us in social media, #LeadWithGiants.com, or actually LeadWithGiants. And this is a great community. I can tell you that for several of you guys that are here with us, we are developing and growing and engaging as leaders. So I think we're working on 10,000 leaders. I think that's Dan's vision there. And what are we up to now, Dan? What's the numbers?
We are closing in on 500 who have pledged to be an uplifting leader, which you can find out about at LeadWithGiants.com.
Great.
So that's like 5% of that goal. And someone said, well, what do we do after we reach 10,000? And I thought, well, you know, 1 million's a pretty good number.
Very good.
Well, I say that Dan takes us to a free lunch.
When we hit 1 million, I'll shave my head.
There you go. All right. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you, Steve, for being with us. I know your time is precious and your valuable contribution and wisdom is amazing. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.